I guess it's time for my payment.
What? Money?
I was thinking of something a little more of the flesh.
Like intercourse with me?
That would make you a whore. I thought you went to Catholic school. I was actually just talking about one of those kittens.
Go for it.
Thanks. I cannot wait to fuck this thing.
I love animals. I mean, I love animals more than I love movies.
I know what you're thinking. Who's this? Who am I? I know what you're thinking, but it's me.
So you know about the hypnoblasts?
I'm wearing my Clark Kent disguise. I don't know why. This is the second time I've reshot this video. Do you want to know why? I shot a 45-minute video earlier today, then went to edit and realized my top button came undone. And to spare you all looking at my bare chest for 45 minutes, I thought I'm going to reshoot the video. You're welcome. We're here today to talk about spoilers regarding Superman, and those spoilers in particular frustrate me. This movie frustrated me. I've had my piece about the movie as a whole. I did a non-spoiler review where I tell you why the movie disappointed me. Now let's go into a few of the plot points and let me tell you why the movie also frustrated me. And I did want to clear something up before I move forward. In the non-spoiler review, I said this movie disappointed me because it had to achieve two things, and those two things I felt it didn't achieve. Number one, it had to usher in a new era of filmmaker-led, story-led films in the superhero genre. I feel like it failed at that because whilst I was watching this movie, I wasn't thinking this is a filmmaker telling a very specific story. What this felt like to me was more of what we've been getting with like a Flash, Aquaman 2, Blue Beetle, Shazam 2. It felt like more of the same slop, unfortunately, so it failed on that front. Number two, it had to make people forget about DC's troubled history. The last decade and a bit of DC, the Snyderverse, it had to make people say, oh shit, this is fantastic. I can't wait to see more of this specifically. And it should have made people say, all right, the Snyderverse. Some people love it, some people hate it. For what it was what it was. Now we can move on. And I think it failed at that too, because now more than ever, people are saying, well, we had it pretty good back then. Or they're saying, how good is this now? The toxicity of the fan base is at an all-time high. So unfortunately, despite James Gunn's best efforts, he failed, in my opinion, on those two fronts. And those are the reasons, the biggest reasons why the movie disappointed me. I thought I'd just make that very clear right now, in case I didn't make it clear enough in my initial review. Now let's talk about the major plot points that really disappointed me in Superman. I now understand why the movie was originally called Superman Legacy, because Superman is the legacy of Krypton, and it is revealed in this movie that Krypton, Superman's birth parents, wanted him to go to Earth to conquer it. Now, I have seen mixed reviews on this plot point online. I don't hate it. This is not what frustrates me. The idea that the Kryptonians are conquerors, evil in nature, I like that. It's something different. I will always advocate for something different than what we've seen before in these big tentpole films. That is why I refuse to go watch Jurassic World Rebirth. I know it's going to be more of the same shit that I hate. So, James Gunn taking a different direction with the Kryptonian Law, I'm cool with that. What frustrates me about this plot point are a few things. One is how quick the world believes it. You got to imagine, this is Lex Luthor, a billionaire, hacking in, first of all, stampeding, intruding, destroying Superman's home, first of all, hacking into his personal computer, then translating a language he doesn't know from a message that was previously thought to be lost, telling the world, and then the whole world immediately turning on Superman after he's been a favorite of the people of Earth for 3 years. I don't buy that. That's like Elon Musk saying, if Superman existed, oh, I broke and entered into Superman's house last night, and you know how Elon would be all fidgety, I hacked in. I can't do a South African accent. I hacked into his computer. He's evil. Look at this. Look at this, Fox News. Show the world. Superman's evil. And then the whole world believing it. Not gonna happen. So it just felt very unbelievable. And the way it's presented in the movie, people just believe it immediately. Superman had just saved Metropolis from that kaiju attack. And then the minute that's done, everyone's throwing beer cans at him, screaming at him on the street. No. They say in the movie that it's confirmed to be real footage, that Lex Luthor didn't doctor it, didn't forge it, didn't fake the video. These are actually Superman's parents telling Superman to take many wives, conquer Earth. Who confirmed that? Who is the Kryptonian video expert to say, yeah, this hologram from an alien planet, it's legit. It's legit. And how come Superman never fought back? He never had anything to say back. He just accepted that, well, I guess I'm a conqueror. It's in a different language too. Who's the Kryptonian translator? Superman doesn't speak Kryptonian. Does Supergirl? Is she, like, she's, as far as I know, well, that's presented in the movie, the only other Kryptonian, and she spoke English. She said bitch. So who's translating this? And I know the engineer is the one that got in the computer and hacked it, but it just all seemed a little far-fetched and contrived. I'm gonna take these off now. It bleeds in to the nature versus nurture theme that James Gunn presents in the whole movie. Nature, Kryptonian nature, versus nurture, the Kents and how they raise Superman. And that's a great theme to have. It's universal. Everybody can understand that and get behind it. However, it feels like it's dropped and picked up whenever James Gunn feels like it's necessary. Like when Superman is saving a green alien baby out of a Minecraft river with the help of Krypto and Mr. Terrific. How's that for a sentence? When that's happening, the whole themes of nature versus nurture just seem like whatever. But then when Superman goes back to the Kent farm to recuperate, nature versus nurture comes up again in that great scene, the best scene in the movie, where Jonathan Kent basically says, your actions are what make you who you are. Best scene in the movie. And that is pretty much, you know, coming towards the end of that arc of nature versus nurture. There's more to that. I'll speak about it later because I have more things to talk about. But this movie doesn't bake the themes into the action. Not my best example, but I've just come up with this off the top of my head now. Spider-Man 3. You could almost do a nature versus nurture thing there with the symbiote. It is the nature of the symbiote to corrupt and be evil. Spider-Man Peter Parker, it is his nurturing from Aunt May and all that to be a good man, Uncle Ben and all that. And the fight between good and evil in that movie is baked into the action scene, specifically with Harry, specifically with Sandman when he puts the water on him, all these different things. You're constantly in the back of your head. But if this movie had had Superman maybe go too far in a few moments, come close to hurting people, or when he's dealing with a threat, being close to being too aggressive or something, where he has to sit back and go, what am I doing? Bake that theme into the plot. And then finally, when he's talking to his Earth dad, he's like, you know what? You're right. I'm not evil. I'm a good man. And then he goes off to the final battle against Lex and his goons and the engineer and Ultraman. Then he doesn't go too far. Then you can see him trying to bring the engineer and Ultraman back, trying to speak to them instead of fight them. And that's where you can sort of see this rebirth of Superman into the symbol of hope. I think I've just thought about that more than James Gunn. That would have been better for the whole nature versus nurture theme, the whole legacy theme that this movie is about at the end of the day. A question I do have after seeing the movie, and this is the last I'll talk about the whole Kryptonian legacy thing. How does Supergirl play into this? I don't know the history, the comic book lore of Supergirl, but why isn't she a part of this conquering message to take the Earth? What is her place? Is that going to be a plot point in her movie? Questions I have that weren't answered, and hence, a little bit frustrating. If I ask you what is Lex's plan, can you tell me in one sentence? Because if you asked me, I would say Lex in this movie just wants to kill Superman. But he doesn't. He has opportunities to, and he doesn't. Instead, there's a convoluted plot for him to start a fake war between two fictional countries, get Superman involved, turn the government against him, so Lex is then given special authority to capture Superman, which all works. It's very convoluted, but it all works in Lex's favor. But then when Lex has Superman imprisoned with kryptonite poisoning him, he doesn't kill him. So again, I ask, what was Lex's ultimate goal? I don't know. Lex works closely with a few goons, henchmen in this movie. Number one is Ultraman. Ultraman is the guy in the black suit you see the whole movie. And spoilers for The Boys TV show and comic book. But it's revealed that Ultraman is a clone of Superman. I don't hate this. What I do hate is that he is mute and stupid and controlled by Lex Luthor from his office. You've seen the clip, or you've seen the movie. A1, B12, C14, A1, Lex is going crazy shouting commands. Which means at the end of the day, Lex has to think of a command, shout a command. A nerd behind a computer has to take the command, input the command. The command has to go to Ultraman. Ultraman has to register the command, commit the command, all before our Superman reacts. It's a bit stupid, but that's not my biggest issue with Ultraman. My biggest issue is the missed opportunity for manipulation on Lex's part. Now this is where the Boys spoiler comes in. If you don't know, in the comic book, not the TV show of the Boys, Black Noir is revealed to be a clone of Homelander the whole time. And towards the end of the comic run, Black Noir starts committing terrorist acts and acts of atrocity, eating babies, taking photos of himself doing so much, and then sending them to Homelander. Homelander sees these things happening, and he doesn't know he's been cloned. He sees these things happening, thinking he's done these things without memory of it, causing him to go insane, leading to the end of that comic book. Instead of Lex trying to turn the government against Superman, going to this Fortress of Solitude, Lex had to find the fortress, first of all. Lex had to get into the fortress. Lex had to fight the robots, Crypto. Lex had to hack into a computer. Lex had to find his parents' message. These are all things there was no guarantee Lex would ever find in the fortress, if he could find the fortress. So Lex, he does all these extreme, tiresome things just to get a little bit of dirt on Superman. He releases the kaiju monster into Metropolis as a distraction so he can invade the fortress at the same time. So Lex, he's doing all these insane things, all this insane running around for that little bit of dirt. This is where I'm bringing it back to the Boys and Ultraman and the missed opportunity. Why didn't he just have the clone Superman dress up as Superman and do terrible things in the public? That would have turned the public against Superman a lot quicker, would have been a lot more believable than some message from his parents. I would have bought that. Imagine if you see Superman throw a school bus. Maybe it was empty. That's very dark. I didn't mean that. But just do something palatable to a general audience, but also evil. That would have been so much better. And then Superman would have been like, what? And then you could have just had this rivalry between the clone. You could have just made him Bizarro at that point. The clone and Superman, and then, Superman and Lois figure out it's Lex. I'm not writing the movie. I'm just saying that would have been a better idea in my head. Another Lex goon was the engineer, the lady in the very tight black outfit. She has nanobots running through her system. I mean, I don't have a problem with that character. The thing that frustrates me about that, Lex can just create these super beings that can go toe to toe with Superman. So why doesn't he create more? Why is he so frustrated at Superman? There's so much convolution and contrivances around the Lex plot. I love Nicholas Holder's Lex, but the actual Lex plot, there's just too much going on. His office flies at one point. He creates a black hole. He has a pocket universe, which I'm going to talk about next. He has all these insane things and plans. He wants to take over half of a fictional country. There's just so much stuff, right? Lex has so much going on in this movie, and I think it's at the movie's detriment. There's too much. The engineer, she's a fine character, but imagine if she wasn't in the movie and Ultraman took her place. Would have had more time to develop Lex as a person, Ultraman as a clone, because you could have just revealed it earlier. It would have been more interesting. It would have had some dramatic irony for our real Superman who doesn't know about the clone. Things like that, Oh, and the last thing I got to talk about with regards to Lex is that all his workers and his IT staff and just the staff in his building, you know, he's shouting out commands to them for Ultraman, who's disguised as a character called the Hammer of Baravia. I should talk about that as well. But Lex, he's just shouting commands and they're happy to help fight and kill Superman. Where does Lex find these people? The Hammer of Baravia? So Ultraman poses as this fictional superhero from a fictional country. He's fighting Superman in Metropolis at the start of the movie, and it's Ultraman. Ultraman is revealed to be stupid and mute at the end of the movie, but the Hammer of Baravia at the start, Ultraman in disguise, is speaking...
He's back. You're 5 o'clock.
In like an Eastern European accent. So was that Ultraman speaking, or was that someone speaking on behalf of him at the start? I don't know. Anyway, it's amazing to me as well when you think about it. After the Hammer defeats Superman at the start of the movie, he flies off, presumably to civilians back to Baravia. But then he just goes and lands at some beach like 3 kilometers away, maybe 2 miles away, right? How did the US government not have eyes on this whole thing and then see, oh, well, look, the Hammer of Baravia, he went just there. Oh, that's Lex Luthor's people. Lex Luthor's an asshole. How did no one figure that out? Mr. Terrific was able to track Superman to that beach later in the movie, but the US government, not able to track. Anyway, moving on.
That is unbelievable.
The Justice Gang frustrated me in this movie because of missed potential. I like Nathan Fillion. I like Green Lanterns, I like Guy Gardner in this movie. But why does he have that stupid haircut? I know they make jokes about the haircut in the movie, but just addressing the fact that the haircut sucks does not make me forgive it. I can't take the character seriously. If he had just had a normal haircut, he could have been this asshole, tired Green Lantern, and that would have been interesting. He's a hero without wanting to be a hero. That's an interesting character. The haircut ruined that. Hawkgirl, she's just a lazy, screaming, indifferent B-word the whole movie. She's reading newspapers. She's got no interest in really helping people, it seems like. Much like Guy Gardner, but she's more unlikable because she's not funny. Then at the end of the movie, she kills the president of one of these fictional countries, and that's it, never spoken of again. She murdered the head of a state. Some hero. And then Mr. Terrific, he was the best part of the movie, really. He was funny, heroic, smart, had agency, wanted to help, made decisions, saved the day. Metropolis and the world would be destroyed if not for Mr. Terrific. So he is the best part of the Justice Gang. But here's the thing that frustrates me about them, is I thought going into the movie there would be a subplot about the Justice Gang being a privatized group of superheroes, being owned by Maxwell Lord, who is played by Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother. You see him for one shot in the movie, by the way. So I thought their plot would be they're a privatized group. They only care about their social media image, their public personas. That's all they care about. Outside of that, they're not heroes. I thought there would be a conflict between them and Superman throughout the movie, where Superman does his own thing. He's the big blue Boy Scout, the good guy, and they're the assholes. And I thought they would have conflict, and over the course of the movie, they would learn that being a hero is cool. And those are themes in the movie. And the Justice Gang do save the day at the end. But I feel like it wasn't in direct conflict with Superman that made them better heroes. They have conflict, but I feel like the lessons they learn aren't directly from Superman. So I feel like it would have been a great social commentary to say, social media following, public persona, celebrity is not everything, when being a real hero, being a good person is. That would have really contributed to the whole punk rock theme they have in this movie. It's a great line, I think. Being good, being kind is the new punk rock. I love that. And it would have been cool if, say, at the Hall of Justice later in the movie, Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl, they're seeing the conflict play out on TV. Maxwell Lord's giving them the you can't do anything. They got PR, maybe people around them, personal assistants and social media managers trying to conjure up a new story for them. And then maybe Guy Gardner hears on the radio a punk rock song, and that inspires him to think about Superman and be a hero. And him wanting that inspires Hawkgirl, and there could have been more there. So the Justice Gang, in my opinion, are a waste of potential, because instead of giving them a little bit more to do in a serious matter or in relation to the main themes of the movie, James Gunn just wanted to, do a Guy Gardner haircut joke, Guy Gardner eats cereal at a cafe joke, Hawk Girl reads a newspaper joke. Things that are just lame. The Pocket Universe. I said I would come back to this, so this sort of ties into what frustrates me about the movie as a whole, which is how goofy and comic booky it is. Everything is turned up to 12. It's crazy. At one point in the movie, we are just told that Lex Luthor created a pocket universe where he's imprisoned thousands of people. He employs hundreds of people, presumably, to watch over these prisoners, and he just uses this pocket universe at his will. It is completely over my head. For things like that in movies of this scale, I will buy into a pocket universe. Fine, I got nothing against that concept, but you've got to give me something to explain it. Oh, I just created a pocket universe. That's not good enough for me. Oh, technology, magic, just something. There are so many out of this world comic book elements in this movie that go unexplained. It almost bears on too much. And I understand James Gunn wanted to throw us into a pre-established world. However, too much is too much. There's a reason for 20 years during the birth of the comic book movie, surge, directors, writers, everyone that was making these movies tried really hard to pull them away from the comic bookness of the comic books, make them more grounded, make them more realistic, because it just so happens that comic books aren't a general audience thing. I've never read a comic book. I've never met anyone that's read a comic book, I don't think. But we all love our superhero movies and that. So there's got to be a balance between comic book goofiness and realism. And this movie, the epitome of that is the pocket universe. At one point, he imprisons Superman there when the US government gives Lex Luthor authority to arrest him after Superman turns himself in. Metamorpho creates kryptonite, weakens Superman. And this goes back to my Lex Luthor problem when I say, what was Lex Luthor's motivation? It was to kill Superman, right? Superman has kryptonite poisoning, Lex Luthor has a handgun, and instead of shooting Superman dead, he decides to shoot some random civilian that Superman apparently cared about. Just because Superman is crying on screen doesn't mean I feel anything. I don't know who this character was that just got executed within 20 seconds. Why should I care? After Lex kills that guy, he just leaves. So the only thing that served to do was to turn Metamorpho good, because Metamorpho was being held prisoner because his baby was being held prisoner. So Superman then agrees to... See how convoluted this is? I'm getting exhausted talking about this. Superman agrees to save Metamorpho's baby, who's in the cell adjacent. Metamorpho says, I'll retract the kryptonite so you can heal. Superman doesn't heal. So then Metamorpho says, well, I've never created a son before, but I can try. Immediately is successful. Superman gets his powers back, saves Metamorpho's baby. Then there's an action scene where they end up in this river. I think they call it an anti-proton river. Basically, it just looked like something out of the Minecraft movie. It literally looked like something out of the Minecraft movie. I was waiting for Jack Black to turn up.
La 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 lava, chicken. Shut the fuck up, you cunt!
Lois and Mr. Terrific save Superman and Metamorpho. Metamorpho disappears from the movie. He comes back for one scene later on in the fictional country. Now he's a superhero. Everyone just serves a purpose in this movie. And the purpose is to put Superman on his path to eventually confronting Lex Luthor and arresting Lex Luthor at the very end. Superman doesn't have really agency in this movie. He's just pushed along. Superman in the movie called Superman, he's not really, it doesn't really feel like he gets to decide what he's doing. This dog was fine at first. I was like, all right, unruly, super dog, cool, whatever, don't care. What James Gunn does best is he can't leave a good joke behind. So throughout the whole movie, Krypto is just an annoying little brat of a dog until he's not at the end of the day and saves the day with Superman. And it's like, oh, finally, Krypto, there's a purpose to him being a bad dog because he attacks everything in sight, and that comes in handy at the very end of the movie. But then we get to the scene that could have been probably one of the better scenes in the movie, where Superman finally confronts Lex after he saved the day. Superman smashes through the Luthor Corp office window and shoulder charges Lex. Cool. A bit of aggression on Superman's part, finally. It's like, yes, yes! Superman then says, I'm human, Lex. I put one foot in front of the other. I make mistakes. That's what makes me human. And Lex, maybe one day you'll figure out that's what makes you human too. Lex tries to fight back verbally against that argument, against Superman, and guess what happens? What could have been a good scene is ruined by this bloody dog coming in and then tearing up the joint, throwing Lex all around the floor. And then everyone, all the extras, Superman, are just like, ooh, ah, ooh, ooh, while Lex is getting mauled to death by a super dog. Come, it just ruined the scene. You know, we've led up to this confrontation the entire movie, and it gets ruined because James Gunn has a hard-on for animals. I love animals too, but there has to come a point, James Gunn, where you say, restraint, kill your darlings. Have Krypto be a good boy and just sit there like a good little dog for once. Give Krypto an arc, for fuck's sake. And the last thing that really frustrated me, and I already talked about it in my non-spoiler review, but it's the score of this movie. It frustrated me because it had missed potential. I've actually just noticed a link between everything I'm talking about. Things frustrated me in the movie, yes, but what frustrated me more than anything are the things that are missed. The missed potential of Superman. The elements are there, however, not executed, I think, to their potential. Let me ask you all a question. Do you know who John Murphy is? He's a composer. Do you know who he is? No? Maybe? Yes? Let me give you examples of films he's composed. 28 Days Later. Sunshine.
What do you see? No! Help him! Kaneda, what can you see? Kaneda! Kaneda!
Kick-Ass. What I just showed you are 3 examples, and 3 varying examples of excellent score. 28 Days Later has a pulsating, dark, threatening edge to it. Sunshine has an epic, melancholic, orchestral sound to it. Kick-Ass has an electronic, kinetic vibrance and youth and energy to it. And I thought John Murphy, who composed all of them, would somehow combine the best elements of all of them. The epic orchestral, the youthful energy of Kick-Ass, the threatening nature of 28 Days Later. I expect out of my big budget movies, more. Something original. You can use John Williams' theme, but you just gotta give me a bit more. And I said this in my non-spoiler review, this soundtrack, when you listen to certain tracks on their own, it's not bad, but the integration into the movie is not felt, and at the end of the day, it's just another frustratingly disappointing part of the package that is Superman 2025. And the lack of great score here made me think, well, does James Gunn know how to use score when he's not using rock and pop songs in place of score? It made me think that, and then I thought, no, because the original Guardians movie has a great soundtrack. The ending to that movie, where they're all holding the Power Stone, is one of the most epic, emotional, great scenes in the MCU, in my opinion. So yes, James Gunn does know the power of score. I just don't know what happened here. It was just missing. And look everyone, I really don't want to talk more. As I said earlier, this is the second time I've had to do this video. These are the plot points that frustrated me, the aspects, the characters, the lack of potential reach that frustrated me throughout the whole movie. As I said in the non-spoiler review, I don't think this is a terrible movie. I just wish it had achieved the things I had hoped. And maybe my expectations were too high. I'll be the first to admit that. I do have high expectations out of some movies, not all, but ones that have promise, ones with great directors attached, ones with characters I care about. I do expect a little bit more. If you like the movie and you're happy with the movie, be happy with the movie. But for me, this was not it. This is just another disappointment to me from DC. And again, I am sorry this video is all over the place. I don't script these things, so I just talk. And hopefully it wasn't too all over the place for you. If it was, well, I guess it's quite similar to Superman 2025, wasn't it? I will leave it at that. Thank you for watching. Tell me what you liked or didn't like down below. And I will also say this one more thing. Don't be nasty in the comments. I find it quite ironic that we've just seen a movie, all of us, Superman, where one of the main themes is be a better person. Being nice, being kind is the new punk rock. That is the takeaway from Superman. However, as was the case in my non-spoiler review, there are still those people out there that just love to be pricks and comment something nasty. It's quite ironic, it's quite hypocritical that the people that love this movie are the meanest. So, don't be an ape in the comments. Be better.